So we couldn't get back into the game, and he went ballistic at me. I got back on the bus that night. I remember thinking, I'm gone here.
He's come at me after the game and gone, "You've lost this game for the fans, your teammates, and me."
And he used to explain how they used to fight for food on the table. Then he looked at Patrice and said, "He's a fighter."
I'm Nicky Butt.
And I'm Paul Scholes.
This is our new show
where we take you inside the greatest era,
under the greatest manager,
at the best club in the world.
Come with us inside the dressing rooms and onto the pitch. I think I was the only person in Premier League history to score a goal and run off and the camera go on Eric. The camera go on Eric.
As we tell you all about our teammates and the rivalries. I'm pretty sure that was a game where Robbie Fowler scored the goal and not Gary off the ball.
I mean, Nev, what's he doing? I mean, we know Rob, he's a great lad, unbelievable player, but Nev Scott, just what's Nev doing? I mean, he just fell
he
down
got himself in that wrong position.
Fell down like an 82-year-old on his Zimmer frame.
This is football's greatest eras.
We're going to be telling you what it was like to be managed by arguably one of the greatest managers of all time. How would you describe the impact he had on yourself, Scholesy?
God, it's difficult, I suppose. Just a massive impact on my whole football life, really. I think he instilled values into us, work ethic. I think being a humble person as well was important to him. You had to treat staff and people around the place as you'd treat anybody, which was, we probably would have done anyway. I think that northern way about us, we was like that. But you had to be like that. Do you know what I mean? You had no choice. You had to be hard working. You had to be good around the place. You had to be trying to do your best every single day, whether it's in competition with your teammates, whether it's playing on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon. And he instilled that willingness to win as well, I think. You had to win.
Yeah, some of the stuff he did was, again, it was more about becoming decent human beings with work ethic, and that's always keeps coming back to my mind with him. Do you remember the first time you met him?
I can't remember an exact point, but I always remember being still in fear of him. Not in fear of him, but you knew when he was around without actually seeing him.
Aura, yeah.
Yeah, the aura about him was incredible. You knew if you were in one room and he was in, you knew he was there. Do you know what I mean? You just always got that impression. And to this day, even when if you see him in a room now, you know he's coming, you know he's there, you know he's going to speak to you, you know you've got to be on your best behaviour, and just the way you had to be around him.
First time I ever met him was at the Cliff training ground after a Thursday, and it was a really, when you look at things and learn how to manage people and how to be engaging with people. He never actually, he met me after it, and my dad and my brother, my younger brother, and he paid more attention to my younger brother. Now, I don't know if he thought he might be a better player when he's older or what, but he gave my brother it, because my dad was Scottish, born in Scotland, and he gave my younger brother a Scotland shirt in his office upstairs at the Cliff, And I think he's probably still got it now. But I thought that was really, he didn't really communicate with me at all. It was all my dad and my brother.
He'd go into detail about that one. He'd want to know what your family did. He'd want to know your brothers and sisters. He'd want to know what your mum and dad did for work. And that was all part of the detail into getting what he wanted from you, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So even at a young age, how did that motivation, how did he work that for you? Did he like kind of dangle a carrot in front of you, said you could be a first team player, or was it just step by step with him?
Yeah, I think it was always step by step. I don't think there was ever any promises from him. I think you had to develop under him, under his coaches, which he obviously trusted, to get you ready to be a first team player, I suppose. I don't think, and you had to conform to what he wanted, and it was the way, as I say, I keep going to the way we was brought up to be able to play for him. It was always attacking football. You had to pass the ball forward. And we were ready for that. And I think he loved that. And he gave you the confidence as well. And you have to say, we might not have been the footballers we were without him, because of, he believed in youth. He believed in us. He got rid of his 3 or 4 top players, and they were unbelievable. Was it Paul Ince, Mark Hughes, Kanchelskis,
Paul Parker.
Yeah. Them types of players were like well-known household names, and we had to come and he had to have faith in us to be able to have the talent to do that, and then we had to repay him.
Is there anything that sticks with you that? Because for me, I've got a couple of things, but for you, the way you lived, or the way you know, as younger men, boys, the way you lived, how you was carrying on at school or going out with the mates that you shouldn't be going out, anything that sticks within you that goes, oh wow, yeah, look back and you go, I'm glad he said that, or he was right there, or something.
I think he always wanted all of us to settle down quickly.
Yeah.
He wanted us married. He wanted us with kids as soon as possible, just because we were Manchester lads. We liked
going out.
we liked nightlife, didn't we?
Yeah.
We just were. We were sociable people. We had groups of mates around us, and we all had to get out of that.
Yeah.
I had to get out of it because I was going out in Middleton all the time, and he got wind of that. Eric Harrison got wind of that, and he gave several phone calls to my mum and dad that, look, he's got to
calm down.
He's got not calm down, but he's got to stop living his life like that. And I'd say from 18 years, I moved away.
Yeah.
Never saw mates again, and probably a lot of mates I've done, I've still not seen now. No, he didn't force you to do that.
It's your choice,
but it was something you had to do if you had to take your professional career seriously. Really,
I remember my school, walking at school. I was a bit of a jack lad at school. I was walking in school late, and I remember seeing an S class parked outside the entrance. So there's staff entrance and the school entrance that way. And if you're late, you had to go in the staff entrance and sign into the late card. So I was walking late and I seen this lovely brand new S class. I would have been 14, 15 maybe. Walked in, the reception woman said, oh, headmaster, what's it called? Mr. Embassy wants you. So I had to go to his office. So I walk in thinking, I'm only late. I've just got to sign in late and I'll be fine. Sir Alex was sat in the office with the teacher. And he come at me like you won't believe. If you don't listen to this man and make sure you do what's right by him, doing your school homework, doing what's right at school, you won't play for this football club, you won't get in. I was like that. But looking back on that.
I see you listened, didn't you?
I did that for about a week.
You did your exams?
For about a week. But literally, but he was right, because what it was you getting, any sign of you getting carried away, he was on you like a ton of bricks, wasn't it? He was on you like a ton of bricks. But equally, anytime he seen you down or having some personal issues, he was there to.
Oh, he's always there. If there's any issues
Yeah.
at home or anything, he'd always say, come and see me, and he was always caring that way as well.
Yeah. Do you remember when we first bought our first houses?
Yeah.
I remember, obviously, you're from Littleton, I'm from Gorton, and we always get into a bit of things you shouldn't be doing when you're 17, 18, playing for Man United, and we've already made our debuts by then, so we weren't very well known, but in our little bubbles, little areas, we were well known. And I remember him saying, right, got us in, I think you probably were with me, you both got to get out of the areas and go and get a house. Remember when we were buying houses together? You bought one your side, I bought one Stockport way.
Area, mate, yeah.
Did you stay in the same area?
Yeah.
I moved probably about 20 minutes away. But I'm thinking, is he mad? He's give us the green light to go and buy an house yourself at 18, 19. The party went from Gorton to Stockport in my house, basically. That's what he did. So it was a bizarre thing to do. But just for him to get us away from where because he was brought up in
He wanted us to settle down as quickly as possible.
Remember when we took the girlfriends to the FA Cup final against Chelsea?
He made a big fuss over them.
He made a big fuss over them, come and sat down and saying, well, you make sure you stay together. And when you look back on it, he just wanted us married out so we couldn't go out.
Yeah.
Very clever.
I always remember though when my mum and dad, because the lifestyle, the way I was brought up, it was all around the pub with my mum and dad. And I remember Sir Alex, he rang me dad. He said, I've heard your Paul's going out drinking too much. And my dad said to him, he's only enjoying himself.
Oh, for God, for fuck's sake.
What are you saying? You'd think he said, oh, yeah, I'll have a word. No, is he not allowed to enjoy himself? Oh, for God's sake. So that was the mentality I was dealing with. But yeah, like you said, that personal touch was always there. Coming back on them trains and finals were, like I say, you used to come and sit with your family, sit with your girlfriend, the girlfriend, mum and dad, whoever it was. And he was desperate for us to really settle down.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, cheers, Gaff. Nick, what do you think set our manager apart from everybody else? There was a lot made of when we were playing that with a siege mentality, and there was a bubble around us that everybody hated us, we hated everybody else. Could you see that in it?
Yeah, I think he did. Obviously, did do that, didn't he? He said, I remember 1-1 when we kept getting penalties against us. Remember the famous one when I think Roy and a couple of us chased the referee at Middlesbrough? Yeah. And he got right into the managers to us about, don't let the referee take this league away from you. So that siege mentality, he made that live on an island, no one can touch us kind of dynamic. But when I moved away to Newcastle, and I had probably 10 managers in 5 years at Newcastle, and each had their own little strengths and weaknesses. But the thing that sets Sir Alex apart from the rest of them was his man management. His man management was phenomenal. There's not many people could have, managers, should I say, could have that many good players in a squad drop them, put them on benches for big games and still have them on side. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about Teddy Sheringham was one of the best forwards England's ever had.
Yeah.
And he sat on the bench for 20 games.
Yeah,
You've got other players and they're still coming back into the team and playing for him because he had a way of saying, he said it to me a couple of times, don't you worry, when it comes to November, that's your kind of pitch. And you look back now and you laugh at that. But I thought, I am the player for him in November and December and January. And little things like that, it's genius what he did. And he didn't have to do it with everybody because a lot of the lads were starters regularly, but certainly the squad players, the way he spoke to them and got them on side, and certainly big international ones like Teddy was genius, really.
He had a way about him, didn't he, where he could leave you out of a team, not play you against somebody, and still make you feel like the best player at the club or the best player in the world.
You get yourself ready for that next one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, kind of. And there has to be some kind of genius about it to do that, because everybody's getting left out of the team. Fuck's sake, I'm angry. But he always had a way of thinking, I'll still get the best out of him, whether it's the last 10 minutes that he's going to win this game, or as you say, in 10 days he's going to play, or in 2 weeks he's going to play.
Yeah, but he had a really good knack of not only picking the player, but the person as well.
That was his attention to detail. Well, I remember we was at a PFA dinner, a Warsden and Aston Villa on the table next to us, and he said he's looking at Ashley Young.
Right.
He was thinking about Ashley Young. And I reckon for 3 hours he just stared at Ashley Young.
Did he?
What's he doing? What's he eating? What's he drinking? What's he like next to his players? But I think a lot of managers do go to that detail, but he just went that extra yard just to make sure he had the right characters to come in the dressing room and the right people to play for us.
It's like you say, if you're dropping some players in big games, you lose them players.
Yeah.
Most managers, I've seen managers where the other club have been to, lose players like that really easily, just by a way of dropping them. You know, it weren't like, someone must go, you're not playing today, you were shit the other week. That's not a way to drop someone. You know, he basically a better way to do it. And he found a way of doing that with certain players that made the squad better, made the player feel good about himself for being dropped, which is like not been known. But that was his genius for me. Man management, because he wasn't a great coach on the grass, was he? You remember when he didn't coach, but whenever he did it, it weren't really a great, was it? It wasn't great, but he had a great way of picking a coach to be with him. So whether it be Archer, Brian Kidd, Jim Ryan sometimes, and Steve McLaren.
He's more of a watcher. When I used to watch people,
he come into his own probably a day before the game or 2 days before the game when he was managing it, doing the team talks and getting you ready. The rest of it, he just leave the coaches to
and
it.
He always knew he knew every other single player there. He knew strengths, weaknesses, and that was something that always helps us. But as you say, I think the biggest thing about his genius was because if you remember, he'd probably been there when he had to use 13, 14 players maybe, so when he first started. And then when we started coming through, it was like 7, 8 subs. So having to evolve and make decisions and keep 18, 19, 20 players happy was genius. And he did change. He changed so much throughout the years, as I said, because when we first came in, it was like the hairdryers all the time. It was a big thing. He had a really bad, not really bad, but he had, he got angry with people and players. Don't do some of the arguments I've seen with Paul Ince and the manager, Peter Schmeichel and the manager. They were incredible, really. But then he had to change. I think he mellowed a little bit with us. He still knew that us lads, and you in particular, probably needed a bollocking at times as well. And then when you get to late in your career and you see these foreign players coming, I think in particular Cristiano and Nani, I remember seeing their faces when the manager's going mad. And I think he must have saw that as well and thought, I can't do this. I can't treat these players like that. So to evolve the way he did through the years as well was a massive strength.
Yeah. So obviously spoke about his man management. How do you think about his ruthlessness? When he knew a player's time was up, or he needed to have to change something, whether it be one of the top players leaving the club or left out of for a final. I mean, some of the stuff he did was ruthless, and I look at it when I was going to my coaching, and I think that would have been the hardest part if I'd have gone into management. Would have been dropping someone who's been loyal for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And just dropping them and cutting them for a new player to come in for the benefit of the club. And I thought he was very ruthless with that.
Okay, there was many players who've been here for 10, 15 years who at some time need moving on. And I think sometimes he'd do it gradually. Others were a little bit more direct and ruthless that he had. But I always think of Steve Bruce in the FA Cup final when he left him out. And I think the player then realises that it is probably time to go. You think of the time when he brought us through, getting rid of. I think that's probably one of the most ruthless things he's ever done.
Because
that was almost.
They were
like,
still in the prime, weren't they? Them players. Maybe not Sparky, but Ince and Chelsea was definitely.
That was like the heartbeat of the team. No, well, I say the heartbeat. Maybe Ince and Mark Hughes were especially, but I think that was also part of his genius, that he knew when the right time was. And look, some players aren't going to disagree, and I'm sure there were players that he got rid of. Brian Robson, Roy Keane, I don't know, but there will be players who disagree with him. But whatever he did, he thought was for the best of the club, and he wasn't afraid to do it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the shock ones, talk about the Beckham when we went to Real Madrid, that was on the line. I think the relationship broke down. To an end, it broke down. The relationship broke down. The Jaap Stam one, obviously he'd written a book and the manager didn't like what was written in it, and that went. And obviously the Keane one, which was a massive blow, not a blow to the club. I wasn't at the club at the time, but when you're seeing someone with that influence over a team for so long to just go like that the next day, there's obviously a massive problem there, and he did that, but it's tough, isn't it? You look at it, you think.
What do you think the most ruthless one was? You think? I thought Jaap was a big one.
I thought Jaap was the biggest one, only because Jaap was in his pomp, and he still had many years to go. And I don't think Jaap was the kind of person to do what he got accused of doing. He was saying,
you shouldn't really do it, but when you still play,
no, I don't think you should.
That was his mistake.
But how he said it about certain players, that wouldn't verbally come out of Jaap's mouth. You know Jaap better than anyone. He was a good man, Jaap. He was a good lad, really nice. It came across terrible, but I don't think it would have been meant like that.
I always wondered whether the manager, well, I might speak out of turn, whether he used that as a bit of an excuse to book thing to get rid of Jaap, to fast forward it a little bit. But you saw what Jaap went on to do after that with Lazio, AC Milan. He was amazing player, but again, that's when he maybe felt that Jaap was going against team ethics and team principle. That I don't think any of the team ever thought that.
No.
Roy was having injury problems, I think, at the time as well. He always had a bad hip.
I wasn't there, so I can't speak about it. But I know we all both know Roy really well, and you can imagine them two going like that. That's why I don't think that's as much of a shock as Jaap. I reckon Jaap would have gone a bit more submissive with the manager and apologised and explained.
Yes,
I know
I think he did, didn't he?
Roy would have gone bang like two bulls at each other, banging heads.
Yeah.
So I can see why that got to where it got to, but the Jaap one, that's the biggest one for me.
I also like Roy and the manager are almost like the same person.
Too similar.
Yeah.
And to see that, how that ended from being the way they were.
Yeah.
I think it's sad.
It's like Roy was like your manager on the football pitch, wasn't he? And he had the same desire and hunger as the manager had.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you say that could clash.
Ultimately, it clashed, yeah. Okay, Scholes, everyone talks about the gaffer's hairdryer treatment. I can remember several towards me. Do you remember any towards you?
Well, everyone says I was like a teacher's pet. I'd never got them, but I did. I remember one in particular at Newcastle away. I was actually subbing the game. I think you might have left by then. Oh no, you might have been there. So I was subbing the game. I think we're getting beat 3-0 at half time. It brings me on with like 20 minutes to go, maybe. Get it back to 3-2, and I tried a flick in the middle of the pitch in the centre circle. They broke and scored. Alan Shearer scored the 4, make it 4-2. So we couldn't get back into the game, and he went ballistic at me. He went absolutely. And do you know when I got a bollocking or the hairdryer as it was called, I took it. I didn't. Never answered back in my life. There were some people, you'll know, there were some people that answered back all the time. I think you'd be one to answer back. But for some reason that day, I kept answering back.
Yeah.
But I didn't agree with what he was saying. So he kept saying stuff, and you'll never play for this club again and all that usual kind of stuff. And I got back on the bus that night. I remember thinking, I'm gone here. This is me Monday morning. I'm signing for somebody else. But he ended up watching the game back on a Sunday, I think, and he came to me Monday morning. I thought, I'm in big trouble here. And he actually apologised to me.
Yeah.
He said, I was wrong. You had an
influence
on the
pet,
game.
I told you he was his teacher's pet.
Yeah, but there's some people that answer back. You'd answer back.
Not much.
I think Giggsy would.
Yeah. I think when personally, obviously you, when you think you're in the right, you answer back. But I could take it when I knew I was in the wrong. But I got a massive one. Probably remember it, Scholes. It was against Monaco, the quarter-final European Cup. Trezeguet scored outside the box, and he's come at me after the game and gone, "You've lost this game for the fans, your teammates, and me." And I was not having it because I got a bad ball played into me. I should have hooked it on, but I took a touch and come off control. And Trezeguet shot from 30 yards, so
It was a great goal, actually.
Fabian should have saved it. If you weren't 5'2", he would have saved it. So yeah, it was he come for me like you wouldn't believe, and I was answering back, going, "No, I don't agree. I'm not having that." No, and he said the same thing, same old things. You'll never play. You get one more word out of your mouth, you never play for the club again. And I was like, and everyone was like, "Sit down, calm down." But yeah, I've had several of them, but I never took it personally. Apart from that one day, and that's probably why I answered back. I never took it personally because you see it happen all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
I think we got away with the real bad ones. I remember when we used to go as like
when we was younger.
When we was younger, we used to go away and not play or bench or be in the squad.
I remember Paul Ince in Barcelona.
I remember Paul in Barcelona. Yeah. I remember that. I played in that game anyway. But
it's amazing when you see later in our careers when you see the foreign players come in.
Yeah.
And they see him go mad. They can't believe it.
No, they can't believe it.
You almost see the face just go paler and paler, don't you, as they're watching him.
Yeah.
Oh, what's
but looking at like, I don't know what your examples are like, but my examples are every time I've worked with foreign managers, obviously had a couple with Newcastle, I've had Sven at England. They're always very calm, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm sure we've got a snap in them, but when you compare that to what Sir Alex or an old school British manager is like, it's totally different, isn't it?
Totally different. Well, you played for a few, haven't you?
Yeah.
Sam Allardyce, and I'm sure
Sam was the same, not as bad. Kevin Keegan was very much like Sven. You played with England with him, very placid,
very
calm,
relaxed.
I had quite a few different ones at Newcastle, as you could expect, but none of them would really go at you. I think I was a lot older. I was a lot older player then.
Do you know what? You always got the sense when you're going to get one as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah, you knew.
You
exactly
think about it. At half time, you're running off, and maybe a couple of times you've heard him shout your name, or you've looked over and he's fucking digging.
It's all about timing, isn't it? It's all about timing. If you do a mistake on 42 minutes, you're getting it at half time. You do a mistake on 22, you forgot about it.
You're trying to throw a death one towards it, and you just know.
You know it's coming.
You just get rid of it.
Yeah, it's not like anything else. Eric Harrison was like that though.
Yeah.
If he had something in his head, he'd bang on that window like that.
Yeah.
And then you get it, and you knew it was coming. So it's not a surprise when you get it, although it's not ideal.
No.
We're going to talk about how Sir Alex motivated us and other lads in some of the biggest games in Manchester United's history.
We're doing this with our pals at Lancashire Tea. Tea the way it should be. Lancashire Tea believes some of the most important conversations start with a brew. Nick, how do you like your brew in the morning?
I like it strong, so I start with my tea bag in with the hot water, stir to the right for 30 seconds, and then milk.
I never knew you had OCD.
A little bit when it comes to tea.
Do you really?
Yeah. How do you like your tea, Paul?
I'm not as thorough as that. I'm not as complicated as that. Yeah. It's just a tea bag in, hot water in. Obviously, take the tea bag out and then put a drop of milk in. I like it strong though.
Yeah, I do. No, I can't stand people that put the milk in
with the tea bag in.
Yeah,
that's weird.
No, that's weird. Yeah, don't get the right texture.
No, it's weird. Yeah, it just looks milky as well, doesn't it?
Not for me.
No, I can't stand that. No.
Do you know Sir Alex made me a cup of tea once?
Not way.
He did at his house, and he used one tea bag for 2 cups.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He put his tea bag in, did that.
It must be tight.
Pulled it out, and then put it into my. I was like, you must be worth about 100 million. You sharing a tea bag. It's like disgraceful.
That's what tight people do.
Yeah, and then he went, you only need one tea bag. I went, no, you don't.
I reckon some people get a good 3 or 4 brews out of one tea bag.
Scottish, he says. Yeah. I remember the Sir Alex's team talk before and at half time. A lot of them, for me, revolved around everything other than football. When it's going well, he didn't have to say anything like tactically. It was always around, work ethic, your background, your parents, how they work.
You went back to the shipyards.
Yeah, shipyards, govern, rough upbringing, but all around work ethic. And remember the Martin Spencer story about the CEO still working there. He's a millionaire, multi-millionaire. Work ethic, work ethic, work ethic. And that always stuck with me. And it's something that when I went into coaching with the young lads at United, I always, obviously didn't copy him, but always put to the forefront about the work ethic's got to be right. And so if you get you're in the right team like we had, I think the work ethic is the biggest thing. Yeah,
it's a good buy. I think a lot of his team talks were not so much around individuals and of course there was people you was playing against, but like you said, the work ethic, the team that needed to be a team together. I always remember a couple of his teams. He came in once and he looked around the dressing room. Honestly, it was about 30 seconds. It was brilliant. And he pointed at everyone and he said, look at the person next to you, trust your teammate, and that was it.
Yeah.
Trust him with the ball, trust that he's going to get you out of trouble, trust he's fight with you. And he always used to bring families into it sometimes. I always remember him, I think you didn't play with Patrice, did you?
No.
Patrice Evra. Because Patrice had about 25, 26 brothers.
Yeah.
No, seriously, he had a a massive family, and he used to explain how they used to fight for food on the table.
Yeah.
So it just made you think how lucky you were that you didn't have to probably do stuff like that. But then he looked at Patrice and said, he's a fighter.
Yeah.
He's had to fight since he was 3 or 4 years of age just to get food off the table. And I think he took that into games, and it made you think. 'Cause I wasn't a great listener to team talks, I must be honest with you. I used to zone out thinking about the game a lot, but there was always things like that stuck in your head that motivated you to go out and just do it. It was a brilliant way of speaking to you.
Yeah. No, it was. I think it was very calculated with him. He knew exactly what his script was going to be before he come in.
Yeah.
My one always stuck with me was always the fact of that, because he always said, always remember work ethic's the biggest skill you can have in life, and football's part of that. And whether you be a bricklayer or if you've got that work ethic, rest of it drops into place. Because really, if you get into Man United's changing room, you've got some sort of talent or you won't be there. So I think the question is, can you work as hard as other people you're playing against? And that always sticks with me, that one.
Yeah, there wasn't many, as I said, I really zoned out in team talks a little bit. Kevin Keegan was always quite passionate about it. Didn't really speak about tactics and stuff, because you had them kind of meetings before, didn't you, with the technical stuff. Yeah. But he always tried to get you going. He always tried to get you motivated. Do it for your teammates. Do it for your families. All that kind of stuff. I think Roanldo was a little bit more serious about it with tactical wise. I like playing for Glenn. I thought his coaching was brilliant. And someone like Sven, he was very quiet,
calm,
didn't really say a word, calm, collected, knew exactly what he was doing, what he was on about, and he portrayed that in us, didn't he? Really, because playing for England, there was always a lot of pressure. There was always a lot of criticism knocking around, but he was so calm.
He was great at carrying
I've never seen the man angry.
He's such a nice person, good man, but knowledgeable, managed in all different countries. It's totally different. Chalk and cheese to Sir Alex. I mean, Sir Alex's one that really got me was very, very clever, and it was the Liverpool game in the FA Cup final '96. I'm pretty sure he had his script ready to go. And if you remember, we went out on the pitch and it was a famous white suit. And I remember him coming in, and I'm pretty sure by memory he looked at something that what I assumed would be his script and just put it back in his pocket and just said to us, probably remember it, if you come back in this changing rooms letting them fuckers beat you with them white suits on, I suggest you don't come back in. And then straight away you're thinking, it was nothing to do with football, it's about how you go and approach a game. It was genius what some of the stuff he did.
I think that motivated us ourselves, because you always went out on the pitch before the Wembley final, didn't you? Yeah. And we saw them walk out. Whoa.
Yeah. Brave wearing them the white suit on a FA Cup. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do it again.
No. I think they do regret that.
Yeah. So what do you think about the branding of our pals at Lancashire Tea, Scholes?
Yeah, it's good. I like
Red Rose.
The Red Rose, of course. Yeah, little map.
I've got the decaf one here. The decaf one.
Good.
Very good. It's not been for 30 seconds stirred to the right though, but it's very good tea.
I was going to say, it's not quite OCD there, is it?
No. Very nice. Very good.
That was brought to you by Lancashire Tea. Cracking brew, that, Nick.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Lancashire Tea is available in both original and decaf. If you'd like to try some, you can put your feet up and order it online, and they'll deliver it to your door nationwide.
Sir Alex took over in November 1986, would you believe?
86.
And he left in 2013. I was in school, I remember. I was in school at the time. He had been 15 then, wouldn't he? No, I'd have been 12. I'd have been 12 when he'd taken over. And I remember the announcement that there was a Scottish manager coming down from Aberdeen. He's obviously done great things with Aberdeen and won, was it UEFA Cup or something? He'd done brilliant up there. And it felt a bit strange. I didn't really know who he was. And I think then you had the impression he was a bit of an angry man then. Yeah. You know what I mean? You probably hear stories from Aberdeen. Do you remember where you was? Because you'd have been 12 as well, same age as me.
I'm pretty sure, obviously, I would have been, I think I was still going to school when I was 12.
Yeah.
But,
filing cabinets.
Yeah, I think, I don't actually remember where I was when the announcement, I'll be lying if I said I was, but I remember when he took over. I didn't realise it was that long ago, though, 86. 86?
86,
wow.
Yeah. 12.
Unbelievable that. Yeah, so obviously I remember him coming to the club, but I didn't know him from Adam. I wasn't really a football geek when I was younger. I just liked playing football. I didn't watch much of it, didn't really listen to much of it. But
you'd never really watched a lot of football, did you?
No, but when he's come into it, you knew then that he was a serious man. Or you look into it and you got to like 13, 14 and become in contact with him. But to be in charge of Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest club in the world for that length of time, I mean, it's just incredible, really. And what he did when he was there, he built probably 4 different squads
Yeah, I was just
to go
going
and
to
win
say
things.
the longevity and having to change.
Yeah.
As I said before, having to change with different styles of people. He seemed to just do that.
If you look at the
brilliantly,
94 team, so his first 5 years were not successful, with the 4 years. Then he builds the team that wins the first one. So that
it must have been in his first year. I was at a game here with my dad,
right.
and I always remember they must have been having a bad time. I can't remember, but there was. I always remember seeing a sign that a young kid must have held up. I think he said Sir Alex Ferguson for OBE out before Easter.
Right.
So I thought I think there was massive pressure on him,
Right.
wasn't there? So he must have obviously strong enough and
Yeah.
got the will to get through that to go through to what he did.
And he must have had the backing as well, to be fair to the club.
Yeah.
Backed him, some
Martin
like
Edwards,
Edwards.
that
Yeah,
would be
again,
right.
he's backed him. But yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with me is with his longevity is my favourite team of all time, Man United, is 94 team. You look at the leaders in that team, like the Paul Ince, Steve Bruce, the Brian Robson, the Mark Hughes, Peter Schmeichel, Roy Keane.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous amount of leaders in that team. They built that team and dismantled that, built our team. That got dismantled towards a bit. Built a 2008 team. And you see how many teams he built that went on to win European Cups, win leagues. That's not luck. That's not because they had money.
No.
You look at some of the teams now, Chelsea spending millions and millions and millions. At one point, something billion he's spent. They still can't win anything. So what he did to be able to go and rebuild and always get Bruce, then it was Cantona, then it was Keane. And they had these unbelievable players that were leaders that drove the team. And the longevity to do that, it's unbelievable.
And he didn't just settle on it, did he? Once he had success, he'd still buy 2 or 3 players every year.
Every year. Keeps everyone on toes.
Even if they don't work.
Even if they don't take your place, as in you, put individual, you know that. I remember before I left, and he brought in Kleberson, Jemba, Darren Fletcher was coming through.
You wish he'd stayed now. But you wish he'd stayed.
But it's like, he always kept me told. He never could sit back and go, I'm playing next. Veron
played for 20 years, never felt like that.
Remember Veron coming?
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got
no chance.
Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, and then Veron's just coming. You're like, I'm not going to get a game.
Well, I thought that as well.
Yeah. But it's literally that's what it is. And he always did that. And you ask any player that played in different eras, I'm pretty sure they'd have the same mindset. So if you ask Brian Robson, brought Roy Keane in, he knew Robbo was done, and that's it. And as good as Robbo was, and the legend that he was, they needed replacing. He replaced him with the perfect person. Yeah.
Well, that was a great strength, being able to rebuild while still having success.
Yeah.
I can't think there was many. Well, I think there might have been a 2-3 year spell where we didn't win the league.
Yeah.
Other than that, and even the year he finished, we won the league by 10 points or something. But it was ridiculous. So it was always bringing competition in.
Yeah.
And making sure, and it wasn't always better than what he had.
Yeah.
But he knew it might just give someone a little kick up the arse.
Yeah, he brought Teddy in, didn't he, to replace Eric?
Yeah.
And the first year didn't win a thing. And then he didn't wait again. He brought Yorkie in.
Yeah.
So they had Teddy and Yorkie to replace Eric, and then they go and win the European Cup, which reminds you after that. It's just, you look at it, it's phenomenal, the longevity of it, and to be able to just keep getting these. And most of the players that he signs, if you put aside the Berbatovs, the Teddy Sheringham's, possibly, obviously the Keane, and maybe York, the rest of them were relatively unknown. Peter Schmeichel unknown, Dennis Irwin unknown, Jaap Stam unknown. All these players, they weren't like going and buying the best players that other clubs have got. It was always go and get the next rough diamond, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And he did it on certain occasions, particularly with Tottenham, with Teddy and Berbatov. Bought their best player, and then we've got obviously Van Persie with the Arsenal one, but he went out and bought a lot of players that, if I'm honest, I'd never even heard of.
Yeah. Well,
Ronnie Johnson.
Yeah. Do you still speak to him now? I haven't spoken to him for a little bit. Are you still in contact with him?
I text more than anything.
Yeah,
bump into him for coffee or tea every now and again.
Lancashire tea.
Half a tea bag he uses. But yeah, it's literally
3 times to the right.
3 times to the right, yeah. But it's literally, look, you don't feel like you want to bother him or pester him, but I think he likes to be in contact with the old players.
Do you know the best thing? Not the best thing, but one of the things he does as well, he gives so much advice out to young managers now. You know, even players from other clubs, Jamie Carragher might ring him and ask for a bit. We never really use him like that. I don't know if we just don't see him like that. I don't know what it is.
I think, for me, it's like I don't want to pester him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What am I doing?
Imagine how many people pester
Because I can imagine he's just getting mithered from all.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think he'd happily give advice out to anybody.
He would, yeah. I know he spoke to Scott Parker before he took that job, yeah. So
yeah,
I think he sees it as duty to reach out to these younger managers and help them out. And I also think it's a way of him keeping in with football. If you've been in football all your life, playing and managing and coaching, and all of a sudden it stops, that must be really difficult. It's bad enough when you're a young man at 37 finishing football, but when you finish at that age,
I actually love it when I see him in the director's box. You know, you see him live on TV. He's got his suit on. You can see he's still passionate about it. I think that's brilliant. You see some people in the director's, you think, what the fuck are they doing?
They're half asleep, aren't they?
Yeah, they're half asleep, but he's there. He's engaged. You know, I just think it's brilliant. It's pretty much like, remember when we were growing up, onto the ground, you used to see some at Busby.
Yeah.
You used to go past his room, didn't you? Just smoke everywhere.
I remember.
It's that kind of legacy, isn't it?
I remember we get our wages on a Thursday. Remember we used to go up there, get our wage slip on a Thursday after college. North Trafford here. Yeah. Go up there and see him, and that aura is few and far between. You can imagine Bill Shankly having that, can't you? You can imagine, obviously, Sir Matt had that, and obviously Sir Alex, but all these great iconic managers, they've got that aura, and you know, Sir Alex is at the top of that for me. That's it from football's greatest eras. Thank you to all who've been watching or listening to our show.
If you liked us, leave a review or a rating, and subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us wherever you get your podcasts.